What's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. We appreciate it. And give this video a like.
Check out the podcast below in the description.
We are sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka.
Just happens to be the #1 vodka in America. No big deal.
No big deal. John, this book is out from Seth Wickersham. It's better to be feared about the Patriots dynasty and the pursuit of greatness. Greatness successfully pursued, I'd say. And a lot of attention is being given to this excerpt from something that Seth wrote about the Niners. There was an informal call between a high-level representative of the Patriots and a high-level 49ers official. What was Garoppolo's price? New England wondered if a second-rounder would suffice, calling it even from 2017. But the Niners wouldn't take less than a first. The timeline on this was right before the draft, but before the Niners made the trade up to number 3. So again, what Wickersham is writing is right before the draft this year, the Patriots and Niners talked. The Patriots offered a second, a trade back, basically, an undo, a redo, and the Niners said, thanks, but no thank you. If you had told me before the draft that the Niners were offered a second-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo, I think I would have fallen out of my chair.
Well, think about this, Guy. When you say the Patriots a second-round pick, forever with Brady, they were always minimum in the AFC Championship game a lot of times, right, going to the Super Bowl, and they'd win or lose it. So that pick was always 31st or 32nd in that round. Do not forget that they went 7-9, which is pretty remarkable. They had Cam Newton who couldn't throw, but still went 7-9. That pick, they ended up picking 38th. I got the draft up right now. They traded up. That pick was 46. So just say this out loud. 46. And the Bengals ended up taking an offensive tackle. But I'll tell you a player who went the next pick, Asante Samuel Jr. I've seen him have a couple sweet interceptions. Rondale Moore, who looks like freaking Tyreek Hill, went a couple picks later. They could have had pick 46 when they already had a quarterback for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Don't forget, I mean, Rondale went right after Aaron Banks. But they could have had Asante Samuel earlier. Remember, they traded back from 42 or from 43 after the lineman, apparently they like that at Notre Dame. Eichenberg went 42. I didn't even
see the Niners Aaron Banks pick right there.
Whoa. So, but that was, they had 42. So they could have had 42, and who knows if they wanted to jump up, what they could have done with 42 and 46, right?
Well, Guy, they could have jumped up and got Gregory Rousseau. I don't know, the guy that's sweet for the Bills, who's like 6'6" and rushes the pass. They could have done a lot of things. Instead, they were adamant. It's one of the great miscalculations that I remember in recent history of this team that we've been talking a lot about. They have made some good decisions. They got lucky once upon a time with Jimmy in the sense that Bill called them, and they agreed. And I agree with Bill going like, that's his value. He was not worth a first-round pick. And this through right now, if he was cut tomorrow, let's say or cut at the end of the season going into March, what's he getting? 1 year's $8 million? Like he's a fringe bridge starter now. They miscalculated Jimmy Garoppolo for a guy that they've had under their wing for 4 years when they just drafted a quarterback. Now, I understand this is what I've been saying over and over on the podcast. Subscribe down below in the description. Is I think we underestimate, like coaches are really smart when it comes to football. And like if you were just you and me and Kyle Shanahan or anyone watching this, we're talking Kyle Shanahan. Even if we know a ton of football, he knows infinitely more than us. But when it comes to this little thing called the NFL draft and value, coaches struggle with that, Guy. That is not Kyle Shanahan's forte. Okay, it's like, well, he makes $10 million a year. He's got to be a good businessman. He pays someone a lot of money to negotiate. He has nothing to do with the negotiations. So it's like, it's not like he's a businessman. It's why a lot of GMs, right, really rely on their cap guy or their number guy for the value of stuff, because that's not even their forte. Most GMs are just Trent Baalke, Mike Mayock, they're, John Schneider, they're football guys. So you have to learn. It's why, Belichick was always kind of this unique figure because he could balance being the coach and kind of the economic visionary. And even he struggled in the draft understanding value. And I just think Kyle Shanahan, we all make mistakes. You've made mistakes. I've made mistakes. Anyone watching this has made mistakes. So no one is perfect at whatever we do or any walk of life. But this is potential grave mistake.
It is. I think the gravest mistake is that they draft the wrong quarterback. Like if Trey, that's the thing, right? For a year from now and 2 years from now and 3 years from now is Trey Lance.
Isn't that a separate conversation?
Yes. Like, to me, what's like that's what I would call grave. Did you draft the wrong quarterback? There's a few calculations going on during this particular situation, right? One is, can Garoppolo get us as far as we want to go this year? Is our team around him good enough? They obviously thought the answer to that was yes, right? Because it seems like this calculation was, well, if we trade him, we'll stay where we are and maybe we draft Mac Jones and he's about Jimmy and that'd be good enough. They say no on Jimmy on the trade. So they keep Jimmy and go, okay, let's move up. We'll get a more developmental type situation here. And then, and then Jimmy stays for another year, right? It's not worth us sucking to get a second for Jimmy. Because I think the thought there is, if we move up to 3, we get a quarterback that needs to develop, we're going to suck. We're not going to be good enough. And if we're going to do that, then we better get a first-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo.
And is it fair to say not even suck, but just we're going to go through growing pains with this guy that we, in theory, don't have to go through with Jimmy, even though, as we're seeing, he still goes through growing pains that a guy 30 years old should not.
Yeah, so exactly. But there's two calculations. One is, how good can we be with Jimmy? And the other is, well, what could we get for Jimmy at a later date? And I think the first one is the one that was really the miscalculation, right? Is how good could we be with Jimmy?
Would anyone have complained? I mean, literally anybody, if they had done this deal and just be like, listen, we're willing to take the hits with we're gonna learn out on the open sea how to sail, baby. And we have put all of our chips in the middle of the table, and we were able to pivot and get an extra second-round pick. So we got Trey Lance. We have multiple seconds. So going into that draft, you would have been like, they're going to take their quarterback. At the time, we weren't quite sure, but we thought it was going to be Trey. Once they do Trey, and then they got pick 42 and 46. You're like, they could trade back in the first round. They could just try to hit a couple doubles and draft a couple guys right there. They would have had some just ammunition, right? To then have this crew of guys, to go with Trey, because, hey, we're not going to have a first round pick for these next couple years, but we got this draft. Elijah Mitchell looks good. You maybe have a couple of these guys. And now you don't, because it's part of having more draft picks. Like, at the time, if they could do it over, of course they'd probably do Aaron Banks over. But at the time, they didn't know. Like, if they knew, they wouldn't have drafted him if they thought he was going to suck, or Trey Sermon or whatever, right? If everyone knew how good Elijah Mitchell was, he wouldn't have lasted the 6th round. Where's Elijah Mitchell based on his tape right now? Probably goes in the 3rd, in the NFL draft, right? He would have gone up, but we don't know that at the fact. But when you have more picks, that's why the Eagles have all these picks this year. It just gives you more swings. It's like, instead of getting 3 strikes, you're out, you get like 6. You just keep taking hacks. For a guy he was not going to be on the team after this year. Like, I would be fascinated to hear the justification. Like, hey guys, you really understand, like, this is
I think the justification. Yeah, I think the justification was, we can be really good with Jimmy Garoppolo. And so to trade him, we have to be getting a first-round pick if we're going to give up the quarterback that we think might be able to help us get to the Super Bowl this year. And that was a grave, to use your word, miscalculation. He's not good enough to get them to the Super Bowl this year. And he is worth far less than a second-round pick right now. But that was the miscalculation. We've got this thing that's so good, somebody has to blow our socks off to get him. And they shouldn't have been thinking that somebody should have to blow their socks off to get Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, can I throw something at you right now? Jimmy Garoppolo, if he just keeps doing what he's doing and they win, let's say he wins 7 games this year, he gets to start the rest of the games. At a cap number in 2022 of $27 million, and you have to pay him $25 million, is Jimmy Garoppolo a tradable player?
No.
Could you trade him for a 7th with that?
No.
He's an
not
untradeable player.
Unless he agreed to a pay cut.
Yeah. He does not. That number, given what he is an untradeable player. So he went from a guy. Now, you could say the Patriots had a connection, but isn't that part of life? I mean, yeah, it's just part of the value to the Patriots.
Well, that matters because who else called and offered us? Did anybody offer us?
Probably not. Probably not. But to the
matter.
Patriots, they had a bunch of cap space. He knows the system. It makes sense. Well, now the one option you have of a person that I don't even call that an overpay at the time, willing to, pay 120 cents on the dollar, is completely gone. Like, their offer now is 0, Honestly, if he was a complete free agent and you think they'd even bring around Mac? Probably not, right?
Bring Jimmy around Mac? You never know. I mean, Bill. Here's the thing. If Jimmy were on the Patriots right now, he might be 70% 9 touchdowns, 6 picks. He might be having Mac Jones's year.
I'll say this guy, and as someone that, went pretty hard on my Mac take, I would rather have Mac Jones than Jimmy Garoppolo. Here's where I will defend Kyle Shanahan. I would rather have if Mac Jones was the quarterback for the 49ers all season long, I think the 49ers are not 2-4. Mac Jones is better than Jimmy Garoppolo right now. Now, saying that doesn't, like, people be like, Jimmy Garoppolo's not very good. I think Jimmy Garoppolo's like the 27th best quarterback in the NFL right now. Like, I think he's really bad. Now, I think Mac's like 20 or 18 or something, but he's better than Jimmy. He's better than Jimmy.
I think that's probably true. Watching both of them, he looks much better than Jimmy this year.
Way calmer. Yeah, just less likely to throw.
But again, my point is, like, I don't think Mac's been so great. He's been really good for rookie. I don't think he's been so great that Jimmy couldn't be having the year he's having right now. And you'd go, they traded a 2nd-round pick for this. Because with Mac, he's a rookie, so he's on a rookie deal. There's the possibilities that he gets better. With Jimmy Garoppolo, it is what it is. And that's where you go back to the Niners. If you decided you weren't going to trade him to the Patriots for a 2nd-round pick, then what you're saying is we might not get anything for him. Or they're drinking the Kool-Aid on that wild scenario, which was, what if Jimmy has the best year of his career? What do you do? Remember that scenario? We've long since put that to bed. But I think it's an illustration of I've been saying this for months. Since they drafted Trey Lance, they are walking a very fine line. They're trying to thread a very thin needle, or however you say it, of having Trey, but having Jimmy, but trying to win with Jimmy. And they have not thread it, right? And it's the same when you turned out a 2nd-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo. You're going, we think we can really compete with this guy, and maybe we can still get more for him later because he's going to have a good year. And then we trade him, and then Trey Lance has developed, even though Trey Lance didn't play in that scenario, but somehow he developed and was ready to. Right? That scenario is like, so you developed Trey Lance, he didn't play, so you did the Pat Mahomes. Cool. That scenario has worked once with Patrick Mahomes. It's turned in one Patrick Mahomes. So they've always all the moves they've made, it's kind of like watching their offense. Like 14 things have to happen in a row for them to get down the field and score a touchdown. And that's kind of some of these things they've tried to pull off. It's like a bunch of stuff has to go right for these like 3D chess moves to work, as opposed to just hitting a couple doubles to use.
And overall, analogy. We said this forever, like the Raiders could have got a 1st-round pick for Derek, but it's like, who was going to be their quarterback? Hell, they might have been able to get 2 once, but it doesn't. If you don't have a quarterback, it's like, okay, you're going to trade Jimmy Garoppolo for a second. Well, who's going to be your quarterback? They had their quarterback. They just justified in their mind he wasn't going to be ready. Like, they were just so adamant with that. It's like they went in.
Well, and they might have been right? He might not be ready.
They went into the season already having a final decision on their quarterback. I think looking back, that's fair to say now.
Yeah, which makes sense because you don't keep this guy around if I can understand you going, well, if I'm not trading him for a second, then he better be my starting quarterback, right?
And I think big picture, the move clearly was to do what they didn't do. And just go in with Trey, let him learn.
Did they call back like after they'd done the Dolphins trade and offer Jimmy Garoppolo? Because now they had, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
was that offer on the table 3 days before the draft?
I'm sure. That's the way I take this.
I don't know. I mean, by that point in time, maybe the Patriots were like, nah, we're going to draft Mac Jones. But I mean, they couldn't have known that.
Yeah, they didn't know he was going to be. They didn't know the Niners weren't going to take him. And
I'm just saying,
is it possible that the Patriots could have taken that, never sign Cam, trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, still take a quarterback in the 1st round?
It's possible. I would say seems unlikely because they signed so many guys in the offseason, like for immediate contribution, right? To try and
you're
win
right.
now.
You're right. When they were probably thinking about doing this deal, it would have been before the trade potential.
Yeah,
because they ran out of right. They spent all their money. They
you're right.
For the 2nd-round pick.
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes it shows you,
and
you never know at the time because anytime but I mean they have been in really tight games. Like they have a rookie core, but here's the thing: they're 3-4. Their rookie has got all 7 starts. Who's made more progress in 2021? The 49ers or the Patriots? Now, 2 of his wins have been against the Jets, but Mac Jones has 7 games worth of work, good and bad. He's had great plays, bad plays. Like Trey's had a game, and even that half is That's kind of janky. Like, you don't want to throw in a guy when it's just like because the other guy goes down. That was not an ideal situation.
No,
Like,
I mean, your experience, like getting a half of football. Like if this is all Trey's played, and then next year he doesn't play the rest of the year, and then next year's the quarterback, we're not going to be like, well, he got that a game and a half of experience last year, so he starts from where he left off. No, you're right. It's like you got to
give him the Arizona.
Some of
game.
this has to not even count. Like it's just
because
learning how
part
to
of it.
see.
Like I bet if you talk to Mac right now, Mac goes, the value I get is knowing exactly what Bill and Josh want Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday, what they expect me to have ready to roll on Saturday. Trey's like, God, this experience that 1 week was incredible. Now he got hurt. It's not. Who knows? I think one of the elephants in the room that makes people a little uneasy right now with Kyle with the situation is going. If Trey hadn't got hurt in Arizona. Is he starting after the bye? Would he have started for the Colts? And I don't think it's a guarantee that he would have if Jimmy could come back. That's the scary part.
Yeah. I think the value of starting every day is that you get to build on what happened the day before. That's the value of it. I mean, it's
what's your guess on that if he hadn't gotten hurt? Who starts the Colts game?
I agree. That is what scares people. I'm not convinced that Jimmy would have started, but it's probably over 50%. But I think we'll find out here as time goes on because hopefully soon Trey is healthy and then you have to make decisions. But I know this, like second round pick out the window. We talked on the pod yesterday about, is any of this keeping Jimmy out there about trying to build his value back up? And I said that would be asinine to be trying to build his value back up. And then this excerpt comes out. Although the book came out like 2 weeks ago. I have it on Audible. I haven't started listening to it yet, but maybe I should.
Same, yeah.
I still think it'd be asinine to be trying to get his value back to a second. Like that's over.
Book's gonna be awesome. It's about like the new and the old stuff. It's like up to date, but that's
also the Niners had to read this excerpt and was like, "Come on, Patriots, man, why are you telling people this?"
Well, they don't need the Niners anymore, right?
Well, it's why the Niners were so. You remember the Niners were on eggshells after they acquired Garoppolo about like not saying exactly how the deal came together. You remember, like there was some agreement clearly with Bill. That was like, we're not going to say, but they also, they got their flowers. We gave them a lot of credit. Oh, Bill called them. How much respect does that show? And now they call back like, hey, that thing we did for you before? We need you to do it for us now. And then
wasn't part of it the other team that would have really wanted him would have been the Browns, and Bill hates the Browns because they fired him.
Yeah, I mean, that's a part of it. Maybe that's the information they knew and wouldn't share. I'm just saying the Niners kept tight-lipped when they got him, and then when they say no to the Patriots, it comes out,
Could have come out through Jimmy's agent, right? Heard about it. I mean, it's not a lock. It does feel Wickersham's pretty locked in with the Patriots.
Could have been a Donye, yeah.
But he's also locked in with the Niners, Wickersham. Remember, he wrote some
he's just a
pieces
man
on
reporting facts, John, okay?
Yeah.
A high-level official and a high-level official. Because the last time it happened, wasn't just Bill called
Kyle.
Kyle, yeah.
Yeah, Bill called Kyle.
And this time it was, Jed and Robert Kraft?
Elliot Wolf works there now, Ron's son. They used to be with the Packers. Could have been like Ron Wolf or Elliot Wolf and Adam Peters or something. Okay. Just throwing some things at the wall.